Good morning, gang. Happy Thursday. So, today I wanted to answer a question that came up yesterday in an email, and I've actually seen it a few times here recently that people have asked me about. And so, what I wanted to discuss this morning was prepper specific items that apartment dwellers, townhouses as well, I guess if you will, should kind of key on. Now, this list isn't only things that just apartment dwellers should have. I mean, you own a house, standalone or something like that. Sure, some of these can make sense to you too. Some may not. Okay, but again, like I've said many times, everybody's situation's a little different. Prepping is something that is unique to you, but these are just some ideas to put on. Now, on the other side of the fence, I also left off some of the more obvious things, okay? I don't think I need to tell anybody to get batteries or candles or, maybe even a solar battery slash solar generator, okay? I didn't think it was worth wasting your time to tell you the obvious, okay? Some of those things make sense. So I came up with the 10 things that I personally think would be most beneficial to have if I lived in an apartment again. Okay. And I kind of broke them down into a couple of categories. So, first category I want to talk about is food and food preparation. Obviously, if you live in an apartment, storage space is at a premium. I mean, I've never seen an apartment that says, oh, this has got abundant closet space. Usually it's pack as many rooms in as can, give you a cubby hole as a closet, and say, there you go, stick your clothes in it. So, not a whole lot of place to store stuff. So, you've got to come up with creative ways to store. We've talked about that before, under beds, behind couches, under the sink, whatever would be. So, I mean, that's just the idea. But so, how do you maximize that space? One of the first things I would say to get is if you are in an apartment is a food dehydrator. Reason being is you can tomatoes, and because obviously I do that, you might get 3 or 4 tomatoes in a quart jar, smaller tomatoes. You can get a whole lot more tomatoes in a quart jar if they are dehydrated. So, again, think about what you're going to be eating in an SHTF situation. It's probably a lot of soups and stews, just because they're going to be easier to make. You're not going to be making rack of lamb or something like that in an SHTF situation. And especially if you're in an apartment in any sort of SHTF, you're going to be pretty much locked in. Okay, you're not going to be trying to get out. So if you can store more food by dehydrating it, obviously shrinking it, that's definitely a plus. So then, again, we're going to say the same thing. Let's say it's one of these situations where the power's out, the whole city's black or whatever it is, how are you going to cook? Well, the first thing I would say everybody needs to have is those little cans of Sterno and the little rack that you can put a small frying pan on or something like that over the top of it, where you can fry up a couple eggs, you can boil some water, do whatever it would be. Because don't bring your barbecue grill inside, okay? Chances are you don't have a fireplace, and I mean, even if you did, what are you going to make, Jiffy Pop over the fireplace? So you're not going to be cooking over there. So you need somehow to some way to cook, because most apartments I ever lived in had electric ranges. Power's out, that doesn't do you any good. So you need something that's got a fuel base. The other thing you can get that would be a good idea is a sun oven. Now, depending on which way you have windows in your house or in your apartment, if you have south or east facing windows, a sun oven's going to be worthwhile. If you have north and west, probably not. Okay, it's kind of like the same as gardening. You can put that sun oven in there. It takes a while to cook, but I mean, if you're patient, you can actually boil water in one of those things. So that's definitely something to take a look at. If you, again, specific on where you live. If you have a south-facing window or an east-facing window, that's going to be crucial. It doesn't do you any good if you don't have any windows. Okay. Next thing I want to get into is security. And again, depending on where you are, you know what the dangers are in your area. If you've got an apartment in, tiny town Tennessee somewhere, maybe you have problems, maybe you don't. If you've got an apartment in New York City, okay, maybe you've got more problems. All right. First one, most apartments have one way in and one way out. Got a front door. That's it. Okay. If something happens and you need to get out and you live on the second floor, you live on the third floor, your only other option is out a window. And if there's a guy breaking in your front door, you need to get out the back, and the back way out is the only window. A rope ladder is something that is crucial. Now, if you live on the 72nd floor of, the Sears Tower in Chicago, obviously that doesn't make sense, okay? A rope ladder is maybe good for the second, third, fourth floor. And most apartment complexes are probably 3 floors high, so you can get away with something like that. I mean, at least the ones unless you're living in a high rise. So just an idea there. But, so let's talk about the other side. If you are in the apartment, how to stay secure. The most simple thing to do is, at a minimum, put longer screws into your door frame, put 3-inch screws into your door frame where the deadbolt catches. It's going to make it harder to kick the door in, okay? You get marauders coming through, and depending on where you are, it's very possible. You want to make it as difficult as you can for them. If you have the ability to have maintenance turn your door around so it opens outward instead of inward, that would be a great scenario too, because you're going to try to break the door. You'd have to go through the frame too if you're kicking it from the outside, all right? So that's a possibility. If neither one of those, well, the screws are certainly an option, but if turning the door around is not an option, get yourself a security bar that you can put on the inside. Literally, it's 2 hooks that you have on the wall, mounted on the wall, and you drop a 2x4 into it when you're in the house at night, and that's going to prevent anybody from kicking the door in, okay? Good security idea there. For windows, the plastic you can get window security film, okay? You can get it clear, you can get it tinted, okay? You get the clear stuff, nobody's ever even going to know it's there, so your apartment complex isn't going to bother. But what this is going to prevent is somebody breaking the window, reaching in and opening the window and climbing through. The security film will literally make it like your car windshield, where somebody tries to break it, the glass will shatter in spider web, but that it won't fall out. That plastic is still there, and it's going to keep somebody from being able to get in. So that's an important one to have, okay? Especially if you're on the first floor. Blackout curtains. This is something that's going to be crucial as well. If you're in your apartment, you're going to be using a lantern, a flashlight, a candle, or whatever to get yourself around at night. You don't want anybody knowing that there is anybody in that apartment, okay? Because if they do, that's when the bad guys get a chance to go, oh, there's somebody there, let's go see what we can do. Especially if they know that, gee, this is a apartment complex that's frequented by college students or the elderly or something like that, okay? You don't want to be inviting somebody to treat you as a victim, okay? A couple of things for your creature comfort, I guess. If this is a longer term situation, figure the power's out for a while. And as we've heard, we could be seeing week-long, something like that, power outages. Get yourself it's called a luggable loo, all right? Or at a minimum, get yourself a 5-gallon bucket and a cheap toilet seat, and figure out or a piece of plywood and cut the hole in the middle so you got some balance of this thing. Make yourself somewhere to go, all right? You're not going to have the chance to go out and find a tree, guys. And ladies, obviously, you ain't going outside anywhere. So take care of that. And make sure you get some kitty litter to go with it, all right? Cheap bag of kitty litter is fine, and then you can keep it in the bathroom, close the door, at least it'll keep the stink down, all right? And then when everything's over, where it's, safe, you can go dump it in the dumpster or whatever, somehow do it that way. But then again, this is, of course, if the plumbing's out, all right, which could happen as well. But it, a 5-gallon bucket and a toilet seat ain't going to cost you $15 total. But it's something good to have. You can never have enough 5-gallon buckets. Finally, the last thing anybody in an apartment absolutely must have is a safe. Okay? Maintenance can come in your apartment anytime. Gee, we had to go in and change the filters on the air conditioner. Gee, there was a plumbing leak upstairs. A lot of times they will tell you they're coming in, but if there's a plumbing leak upstairs, they're not telling you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, hey, Mrs. Jones, we're going to go into your apartment tomorrow at 2. No, they're coming now. They knock on the door, you're not there, they go in. Okay? Well, the last thing you want to do is, see $200 in cash sitting on the countertop, your weapon sitting on the counter, your passport, the title to your car, whatever would be. Okay? Anything that is important documents, money, weaponry, anything like that needs to go in this safe. It needs to be fireproof, it needs to be waterproof, and it needs to be bolted to a wall or bolted to the floor. All right? If you do that, fine. A lot of them, they've all got a hole in the back or a hole in the side. You can bolt it to a stud from the inside and nobody's going to move it. And okay, when you move out of your apartment, you've got one more hole to patch. Not a big deal. Figure you hung enough pictures and shelves up anyway. A little bit more spackling ain't going to get you. But I wanted to give you those as some ideas, guys, because who knows what's going to happen in apartment. People that rent apartments have a specific set of needs that's a little different than those that live in single-family homes. I mean, as I've said many times, there is no one-size-fits-all to prepping. Big difference between city, suburbs, and country. Big difference between house and apartment. And, I mean, we could even get in the difference between a second-floor apartment and a 40th-floor apartment. But I wanted to give you these ideas to give you something to think about going, oh, yeah, that's something I never thought about I needed. So if you've got any other ideas, guys, you live in an apartment and there's something that works great for you, please put it down in the comments. You're helping all your fellow family members by adding to anything that I didn't put in there. But, that's what we try to do is help each other out. So have a good Thursday, gang. Pinball out.